Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another new, well, technically Gruul deck tech. So today we're going to be talking about the brand new Gruul Dragons Aggro deck for Pioneer. We've got a couple upgrades from March of the Machine, as well as kind of a new way we're building the deck for the most part, which obviously we're going to go over that. Before we get started though, let me know in the comment section below, what do you like about the list? What do you not like about the list once you're finished with the video? Also, the deck list will be in the description below if you'd like to check out the list for yourself or potentially build it. And as always, the cards that I posted on here are pretty much the cheapest version of the deck, well, of those cards. So if you'd like to pick those up, obviously feel free to. So we're going to hop right into it here. And as always, we're going to start with our one drops. We have 4 Llanowar Elves, 4 Elvish Mystic. That's it for our 1-drops. And then we have 4 Draconic Roars. So Llanowar Elves is a 1/1 for 1 green, taps for a green. Elvish Mystic does the exact same thing. It's 8 elves because we are a green deck. So that's why we're playing 8 of them. And then we have 4 Draconic Roar. It's a red and 1 instant. As an additional cost to cast Draconic Roar, you may reveal a dragon from your hand. Draconic Roar deals 3 damage to target creature. If you reveal the dragon or control the dragon as you cast Draconic Roar deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. Just a really great card in general. For those who played back in the day, it's basically a Searing Blaze, but for dragons. So just a really, really great card, great tempo. Being able to, take out a creature for, and then also deal 3 to our opponent is just an awesome effect to have. Next, we have our 3-drops, a couple of them here. So we have 2 Mygla's Maze Crushers, and we have 4 Reckless Stormseekers. So Mygla's is one of the new cards from Phyrexia All Will Be Once, a 4/4 for 1 red-green legendary Phyrexian beast. It enters the battlefield with 5 oil counters on it. We can tap 1, remove an oil counter from Mygla's. It gains Vigilance and Menace until end of turn. We can tap 2, remove 2 oil counters from Mygla's, and it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Or we can tap 3, remove 3 oil counters from Mygla's, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So, very great effect. It's a 4/4 for 3. That's a great rate, and it has 3 very good abilities, which are all really good, honestly. Mygla's, I'm a really big fan of this card, and that's why we're playing 2 of them. Then we have 4 Reckless Stormseeker. 2/3 for 2 and a red human werewolf. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste until end of turn, and it has Daybound. If a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. And then it transforms into Storm Charge Slasher. It's a 3/4 werewolf. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample and haste until end of turn, and has Nightbound. If a player casts at least 2 spells during their own turn, it becomes day next turn. So, just a really great card in general. I really like this card in general. For those who don't see these, well, didn't realize it, it's kind of there's a Gruul vehicle list that's in Pioneer, and this is kind of a combination of those 2 decks in general, which definitely plays a lot lower to the ground as opposed to our previous lists, but overall, it's still really, really fun, and I'm a big fan of this. So anyways, we're going to move on. We've got some more spicy cards here. We have 3 Domri Anarcha Bolas, 1 Atsushi the Blazing Sky, and 4 Thunderbreak Regents. So Domri Anarcha Bolas, 3 loyalty, one red-green for a legendary Planeswalker Domri. Creatures you control get +1/+0. It's a static ability. Great ability to have. We can add a loyalty, add red or green mana. Creature spells you cast this turn can't be countered. And then -2, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Just a pretty simple card in general. It's really great against decks that are playing counterspells like blue-white control. Being able to Anthem our creatures is a really, really great effect in general. And being able to remove creatures with the -2 is also just a great effect to have. So definitely a big fan of Domri. Then we have 1 Atsushi the Blazing Sky. 4/4 for 2 red, legendary Dragon Spirit with flying and trample. When it dies, choose 1. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Or we can create 3 treasure tokens. Just a great 4-drop dragon in general. I wanted a 5th 4-drop, and this is the one that I decided to play. Just a good card in general. Obviously, if your opponent removes it, it's awkward for them because then, we get 2 very, very good effects if they decide to remove it. So, big fan of playing this card. Then we have 4 Thunderbreak Regent. Probably the best 4-drop dragon in the game. It's a 4/4 for 2 and 2 red. Not legendary. Dragon with flying. Whenever a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, Thunderbreak Regent deals 3 damage to that player. Just incredible card in general. I've said so many good things about Thunderbreak Regent. This card is just, it's so good. It's great stats, it's a big flyer, and if our opponent's targeting our dragons, which more often than not, they're going to try and take them out, we deal 3 damage to them. So just a great card in general. I'm a huge fan of Thunderbreak Regent. Arguably the best dragon in the deck, if I'm being honest. Next, we have some of our big beefy dragons here. So we have 4 Glorybringer, 2 Stormbreath Dragons, and 1 Shivan Devastator. Glorybringer is a 4/4 for 3 red dragon with flying and haste. You may exert Glorybringer as it attacks. When you do, it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. Just a great card in general. For those who don't know, exerted means it won't untap during your next untap step, which is fine. This card is just, it's so good. Glorybringer is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated cards in the Pioneer format in general. It's big, it hits hard, it's fast, and it just takes out pretty much most of our opponent's creatures that they're going to be playing. So, Glorybringer, awesome card. Then we have 2 Stormbreath Dragons, 4/4 for 3 red with flying, haste, and protection from white. Then it has 5 red Monstrosity 3, which means if this creature isn't monstrous, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it, and it becomes monstrous. When Stormbreath Dragon becomes monstrous, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. That ability was made back in the day to beat Sphinx's Revelation, but it's just good. Flying haste, 4/4 for 5. But the protection from white, it seems as the format is going forward, it seems like the pro-white is becoming kind of relevant. You know, against like mono-white humans, they have a hard time beating this. Blue-white control has a very hard time beating this, especially once it resolves. At that point, they basically need Supreme Verdict, otherwise they cannot get rid of this Stormbreath Dragon. So, Stormbreath Dragon, just a great card in general, and we're playing 2 of them just to round up our 5 drops. And then we're playing Shivan Devastator. It's a red and X for a 0/0 with flying and haste dragon. Enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. So obviously this is, I think of Shivan Devastator as like, kind of like how a charm works in, you know, like charms, they don't have like a super powerful effect, but they have a couple different solid effects to them, which makes them a good card. That's kind of how Shivan Devastator is. You know, you can play it for 4 mana, it's a 3/3 flying haste. You can play it for 5, it's a 4/4 flying haste, which is similar to our Stormbreath Dragon and Glorybringer here. But also, if you just have a boatload of mana, you can play it as a 7/7 flying and haste. It's a flexible card, and we want dragons in our hands because of Draconic Roar and the next card that I'm going to show on the slide here, which probably to nobody's surprise is in the deck. But we want to have dragons in our hand when we cast this spell. Invasion of Tarkir, which probably to nobody's surprise was in the deck. 5 damage counters, red and 1, battle siege. As a siege enters, choose an opponent to protect it. You and others can attack it. When it's defeated, exile it, then cast it transformed. When Invasion of Tarkir enters the battlefield, reveal any number of dragon cards from your hand. When you do, Invasion of Tarkir deals X plus 2 damage to any other target. Where X is the number of cards revealed this way, X can be 0. So just a great card in general. This is kind of like the Bone Crusher Giant, so to speak, for dragons. You know, you get the damage on it, and then the other side of it is like a solid creature. It kind of reminds me of Bone Crusher Giant, essentially taking the slot of Bone Crusher Giant in this deck. Just a great card in general. The 5 damage counters is nice because if we have Domri in play, any of our hasty dragons can single-handedly take out the invasion, which is just an awesome effect to have. And then what do we get when we flip it? So we get a Defiant Thundermaw. It's a 4/4 with flying and trample. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to any target. So this also stacks as well with all dragons. It's not you attack with a bunch of dragons. It stacks for each one you're attacking with. So if you're attacking with 3 dragons, you're dealing 6 damage, which is just an incredible effect. Very happy that Invasion of Tarkir is a new card. It's probably going to be one of my pet cards for the foreseeable future. Very happy that Wizards of the Coast threw me a bone and gave me some dragon support. So thank you, Wizards of the Coast. So, I believe that rounds out our main board here. It does. So, we're going to hop into our lands here. We're playing 4 Stomping Ground, obviously staple, Shockland, the best dual land in the format. We have 4 Carplusian Forests. We can tap for a colorless or tap it for red or green, and it deals 1 damage to us. And we're playing 3 Copperline Gorge. It's the new fast land from Phyrexia All Be One. Obviously, staple Gruul lands to be playing. Also worth noting, if you want extra bonus points, the Stomping Ground that's on the picture there is the Secret Lair one that is from Tarkir. So if you really want some like added spice in there, figured I would mention that just because it's a cool Stomping Ground. Next, we have 4 Cragcrumb Pathway. It's the Pathway land where we can play it untapped for a red or green. We have 1 Besage Who Endures. I feel like I talk about this card a lot. I'm not gonna explain it again because I feel like I do it every video. But if obviously you'd like to read it, it is on screen there for you. And then we have 1 Sekenzan, the other red, well, the red channel land from the same cycle. Just good flexible lands to be playing. You know, we either play them as our lands that we obviously need to play, or, you know, late game, we channel them for extra value. Just great to have in general. Next, we have 2 Lair of the Hydra. It's the kind of like a fast land, but it's a man land too. We can make tap X and a green, make it an XX green Hydra creature. Just a great card to be playing in a green aggro deck. We have 1 Haven of the Spirit Dragon. We had 1 flex land in this deck, and I decided to play Haven of the Spirit Dragon. We could tap it for a colorless, or 1 mana of any color to cast a dragon spell. Or we can tap 2 and tap it, sacrifice it, return a dragon card from our graveyard to our hand. Just a great effect to be having, you know, late game, playing against like Rakdos midrange or something. Being able to buy those dragons back is just a great effect to have. Then we're playing 1 Shatterskull Smashing. Obviously, just the red X deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, Shatterskull Smashing deals twice X damage divided as you choose. And the flip side, we can play it as a red land, and it comes in untapped if we pay 3 life. Just a great one-of flex to be having. We are playing 24 lands, including the Shatterskull Smashing, which I think is a good number for this deck. Rounding out our lands, we have 2 basics. Well, 3 basics. We have 2 mountains and 1 forest. I feel like every deck tech I talk about a spicy basic to be playing. So in this case, these are both from Jumpstart, like 2019, 2020 or something like that. The mountain is the official dragon Jumpstart land, and then the other one, I don't remember which one that one's from. Maybe the Elementals or the 5-color. No, it's not the 5-color one. I don't remember, but these are the basics that I play in my deck. I know they're pretty inexpensive if you'd like to pick them up, and they're completely unique artwork. They've never been shown other than on the Jumpstart set, so very cool, worth noting. So now we're going to hop into the sideboard here. We're playing 2 Tormod Script, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, and 3 Damping Spheres. Tormod Script, 0 mana artifact. We can tap and sack it to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Grafdigger's Cage is 1 mana artifact. Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. And 3 Damping Spheres, 2 mana artifact. If a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces colorless instead. Each spell a player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell that players cast this turn. Quite simply put, Tormod Script, great against all of the graveyard decks. Grafdigger's Cage has a lot of... It's a really good sideboard card in this format. The main reason it's in here is it stops the Neoform Atraxa decks, but it also does a lot of things. It also is good against Collected Company decks. It's good against like Arclight Phoenix. Just a great card to have in general. It's good against so many different decks in the format. You can also even bring it against Mono Green to stop their Storm the Festivals too. I mean, like it's good for that too. Damping Sphere, pretty self-explanatory, is in for the Nykthos matchup, as well as the Lotus Field combo. Also pretty solid to bring in against Phoenix, I would say, is in general as well. Next, we have 2 Cindervines, 2 Klothys, God of Destiny, and 1 Heroic Intervention. So, Cindervines is a red-green enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cindervines deals 1 damage to that player. We can tap 1, sacrifice Cindervines, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Cindervines deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Klothys is a 4/5 for 1 red-green indestructible god. As long as your devotion to red and green is less than 7, Klothys isn't a creature. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a land card, add red or green. Otherwise, you gain 2 life and Klothys deals 2 damage to each opponent. Heroic Intervention is green and 1 instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Cindervines is pretty good against a lot of different decks. It's great against, I like to bring it against mid-range and control decks. It's good against any like heavy artifact or enchantment decks. We could bring it in also against like Teamer Creativity to kind of help blow up maybe some of their targets. I don't know. You know, it's solid. Klothys is just great in general as well. It's great against pretty much mid-range and control. Pretty much when we bring in the Cindervines, we bring in Clothis most of the time too, except maybe against like Rakdos midrange, but that's probably it. But still, Cindervines is still good against Rakdos midrange, I would say. Clothis is probably our most sideboarded card in on average, I would say. Heroic Intervention is here for one reason only: blue-white control. So at least from where I'm from, there's a lot of blue-white control that's always lurking around, and this card is a blowout for them. Like, this is the type of card where if this resolves, which most of the time it probably will, we'll probably just win the game with this card, as obviously I've done in the past. So just a great card to be playing in general. You can also bring it in against decks that play a lot of removal, but that's up to you, I suppose. In our last slide, we have 1 Anger of the Gods and 2 Nahiri's Warcrafting, new spicy card from March of the Machines. So Anger of the Gods is 1 red sorcery. Anger of the Gods deals 3 damage to each creature. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. And Nahiri's Warcrafting is 1 red sorcery, deals 5 damage to target creature, planeswalker, or battle. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the excess damage dealt this way. You may exile one of those cards, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exiled card this turn. So Anger of the Gods is pretty simple. It's great against all the lower to the ground, like creature decks. Nahiri's Warcrafting is very interesting. So normally in this slot, we like to play Rebel Salvo, which is an instant, but I want to try Nahiri's Warcrafting. I think this card would be very good, especially with, since we're playing Invasion of Tark here, this automatically flips Invasion, which is awesome. So with an effect like this, the main reason we're playing it is to take out Shieldrids. Like, that's pretty much the main reason, because our deck has a very hard time dealing with Shieldrid. So that's pretty much all we're doing for the most part with Nahiri's Warcrafting. We're also just getting additional value because we can bring it in against, we can take out like some Adelines in the humans decks. We can take out some Thing in the Ices. We can take out quite a bit with a card like this. But I think this is going to be very good. If our opponent doesn't have a Shieldred and we draw it, we can either flip our battle. We can kill a decent sized creature, like we can even kill like a Blood Tithe Harvester, and then look at the top 3 cards, that kind of thing. Maybe get another land, play an extra land for turn, not an extra land, but if we missed our land, we can play it off that. I think this card is just really great to be playing in general, so I'm very excited about this card, and we'll see how it goes. But that is oh my goodness, I cannot talk today. I'm very sorry, but we've reached the end of our deck tech today. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. And as always, like I said at the beginning, if you want to check out the deck list, it's in the description below. Let me know in the comments section, what do you think of the list? I'm Commander Crane, and I'll catch you in the next episode.